This is a special presentation of WAAY 31 Sports. The SEC, the Big Ten, clashing in the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. Alabama and Michigan meeting for the 6th time in school history. Alabama hoping to return to the national title for the 10th time under head coach Nick Saban. Michigan looking for their first title appearance under head coach Jim Harbaugh. Both teams ready for battle. Both teams ready to shine in the Rose Bowl.
Los Angeles, California, the city of angels and the entertainment capital of the world. There is no place quite like La La Land. But it's not downtown LA where you'll find the big game tomorrow. We've got to head 11 miles northeast to the City of Roses.
And that's where we find one of the most iconic venues in all of sports, the Rose Bowl, home of the game that bears its name since 1923. And on Monday, the site of the biggest game of the season, you can bet all 92,000 seats will be full when number 4 Alabama and number 1 Michigan meet in the granddaddy of them all with a spot in the national championship on the line.
Hello from the beautiful Pasadena, California, where in less than 24 hours, the Alabama Crimson Tide will take the field inside the Rose Bowl to take on the Michigan Wolverines. Nolan Knight here with Max Cohan. And Max, the wait is nearly over.
The rest of the world is counting down the hours until midnight. Here in Pasadena, we're counting down the hours until kickoff. The energy is in the air, and you can feel it. There's only one thing left to get to, 4 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, and what a great place to end the season for Alabama. Let's take a look at how the Crimson Tide return to the playoffs. Here we are again, the Alabama Crimson Tide, in yet another college football playoff game. But this year, the road to the playoffs for Alabama was not an easy one, as a slow start to the season nearly doomed the Tide's playoff hopes, as the national doubt about the Tide began week 2 when Alabama was stunned at home against Texas 34-24, sending the Tide spiraling down the rankings and the fans calling for change.
We want the competition. We want guys to improve, to compete for playing time. But we also want them to be able to take advantage of the opportunity when they get it.
And a change would come as Jalen Milroe was benched in the Crimson Tide's next game on the road at South Florida that saw the Tide scrape by 17-3 in a rainy Tampa, Florida. But following the lackluster performance against the Bulls, the Tide would go back to Milroe, and the quarterback would never look back, starting SEC play out with a bang with an impressive performance against the Ole Miss Rebels, which would set the standard for the rest of the year. Milroe would go on to roll through the SEC, grabbing double-digit wins over rivals Tennessee and LSU, and setting Alabama up with a chance to finish SEC play undefeated with a win over a 6-5 Auburn team in the Iron Bowl. But that was easier said than done. The Tide found themselves in a dogfight on the Plains and nearly saw their championship dreams come to an end as they trailed by 4 and needed a touchdown on 4th and 31 at the end of the game, and that's when the Tide's biggest play of the season took place, the Milroe Miracle.
I mean, it's an unbelievable game. I guess if you're in this long enough, sometimes it goes against you in the last play of the game, and sometimes you're fortunate and it goes for you.
From there, the Tide would head to Atlanta 11-1. A matchup against the 2-time defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs awaited, and Alabama played like a team ready for a college football playoff game, going back and forth against the Bulldogs and coming away on top 27-24, claiming their 11th SEC title under head coach Nick Saban and putting themselves in the conversation to play in the college football playoff.
I mean, what else do we have to prove? You beat the number 1 team, back-to-back champs. Why wouldn't we be in the playoff? You can't leave the SEC out. You know what I mean? And I feel like we proved that today. We forced the committee's hand today.
And the next morning, the Tide got their answer.
Alabama. 1 spot. Whoever's 4 plays Michigan. Number 5, heartbroken. Who's number 4? And Alabama returns to the playoff, and so we have another unprecedented situation.
There is not quite another game like the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. It's the oldest bowl game in all of college football, over 120 years of history.
And Alabama has been part of that tradition since 1926, when the Tide's first ever bowl game brought them out to Pasadena for a meeting with Washington in the game that changed the South. On New Year's Day, between 1926 and 1938, Alabama played in 5 bowl games. Each and every one of them brought the Tide out to Pasadena for the Rose Bowl. Then in 1946, Bama returned, squaring off with USC. Alabama rolled over the Trojans 34-14 in a contest where Decatur native Hal Self scored the Tide's first and last touchdowns. That would mark the final time Alabama played in a Rose Bowl game in Pasadena until this year. But that wasn't the last time the Tide made the trip to the home of UCLA football. Alabama played a regular season game against the Bruins in 2000, and then for their first title under head coach Nick Saban in the 2010 BCS National Championship game. Several North Alabama natives were rolling with the Tide that season, including North Jackson alum Ali Sharif.
I remember the atmosphere. I remember how, you can almost feel the excitement from the Alabama fans. You could just feel it. The Pasadena is a different place. It's just old, ancient, but it just still feels new. That I know that feeling is going to be new to them. You would probably go there 100 times and it feels new every single time. So I love it.
A feeling that was shared by his teammate and Florence native Drew Bullard.
Once you pull into Pasadena and then catch that first glimpse of the stadium and the recognizable, side of the stadium, which says Rose Bowl, it kind of hits you, and it's just unlike any other stadium that you'll go into. And so I just remember that feeling of, wow, we're actually here.
The stage was not too big for the Tide as Alabama defeated Texas 37-21, securing the first of their 6 national titles during the Saban era. And even though a lot has changed in the last 14 years, Coach Saban's message to his players has seemingly remained the same.
When we went out to Pasadena, it was more of a business trip than a vacation or the true bowl experience.
I think that's one of the biggest things that Coach Saban prepares you for is it's a business trip. We're going out there, we're going to take care of business, we're going to do what we need to do, and we're going to come back and be winners.
So let's take a look at how their last 7 trips to the Rose Bowl have gone. 5 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. And when you look at this breakdown, one game will stand out more than the rest. It's that 2021 game against Notre Dame. It's a Rose Bowl game, but it was not played here in Pasadena. Instead, it was played at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Now, Nolan, we've talked about how Alabama got here. What's it going to take for them to advance back to Texas?
Well, that's an easy one. It starts with Jalen Milroe, making sure that he can run the ball. Jalen Milroe this season, he's shown flashes of his dual threat talents this year, rushing for nearly 500 yards and 12 touchdowns, and with the bulk of that coming against LSU, Kentucky, and Ole Miss. All big wins for the Tide. Next, let him throw the ball deep. Milroe has completed at least 1 pass of 25 yards or more in each and every game this season, many of them going to Jermaine Burton. When the two connect, good things seem to happen. And then they need to hold the line. Michigan, it's no secret, they're going to run the ball, and Alabama will need to find a way to contain Blake Corum, one of the most dangerous running backs in all of college football, and they need to do everything to keep him out of the red zone.
When it comes to the keys for Michigan, one of them should be clearly obvious. They need to stop Blake. They need Blake Corum to score, The running back has scored in every single game this season with 24 touchdowns. He's only surpassed 100 rushing yards twice this season, but it hasn't mattered, and he has multiple scores in 9 games. Now, a lot of people will talk about J.J. McCarthy, but the Wolverines have largely been able to win without great play from the quarterback position. In the last 5 games, McCarthy has been held to just 1 touchdown, and in 4 of those contests, he was contained to less than 150 pass yards, but all he needs to do is get them downfield, because once the team is in the red zone, they're automatic, converting on 52 of 59 trips inside the 20, and most importantly for you, Mish, eliminate the ground game. The Wolves have dominated against the run, with no player for rushing for 75 yards against them this year, and no team reaching 200 rush yards. Now, we've talked a lot about Blake Corum, and it's for good reason. Over the last 3 seasons, he's rushed for 53 touchdowns and been the locomotive that's been powering Michigan to 2 college football playoffs.
Yeah, and although Michigan has been to the college football playoffs for the past 3 seasons, the team's previous 2 trips have ended in heartbreak with first-round losses to Georgia and then TCU last year. This year, Corum made it clear that it was championship or bust for UM. But even with their title hopes on the line, the running back made it clear that their team isn't afraid of Alabama, and they will be preparing for them just like any other school on their schedule.
It's not that type of vibe because you got to look at each team the same. You know, whether you're playing Bowling Green or Alabama. Obviously, you know, Bama's a great team. I mean, playing against Alabama, it's going to be a great game. You know, I'm excited because it's Alabama. It's Nick Saban, you know, but we're Michigan and we got Jim Harbaugh, you know. So, you know, like I said, you know, every game I get fired up for. But obviously, we're in the Rose Bowl. You know, we're playing against Alabama. You know, it's two great legendary universities just going at it. You know, so yeah, this game does get me fired up, but I wouldn't say it changes, you know, any type of dynamics.
We've heard a lot about this Michigan team the past couple of weeks, from their All-American-led secondary to their incredible run game, as we just talked about. There's a reason that they are ranked #1 in the college football playoff rankings.
And as you guys know, we cover Alabama and not Michigan. So to find out more about the Big Ten champs, we talked to our friends at ABC 12 Michigan.
In 2022, the Michigan Wolverines were in this same position, undefeated. Big Ten champs, hoping to clinch their spot in the college football playoff championship for the first time under head coach Jim Harbaugh. After an upset loss to TCU, though, the Wolverines were headed home early again. And this year, the Wolverines don't expect an early exit.
It's just like, this is it. Like, if there's a time for Michigan to make it to the national championship and win a national championship, why not do it as the #1 seed for the first time since you guys have been in the college football playoff?
ABC 12 sports director Brandon Green covers Michigan each year. And when discussing this year's team, one thing stood out. That was Michigan running back Blake Corum. He's the player to keep an eye on. The Big Ten running back of the year, an All-American, has accounted for 22 rushing touchdowns and nearly 1,000 yards rushing. And if you're going to stop the Wolverines, it begins with stopping the back.
It's like he's going to score the touchdown. He's going to get into the end zone or get it's like that little cut to get that extra 3 yards that you need on a third down, or to make a 1st and 10 into like a 2nd and 5. It's like doing like those little things to keep Michigan on schedule is what makes Blake Corum so special.
So how can Alabama take down a Michigan team that has 4 All-Americans? Well, one way might be to force them in unfamiliar territory. A shootout.
We haven't seen Michigan response to a shootout yet. I know Ohio State was a little bit higher scoring, but that's the game. That's Ohio State. So you just put that in a corner by itself. But no team has really gone like toe-to-toe with their offense yet. Like, the defense hasn't been on the field for an extended period of time. Michigan has mostly controlled time of possession for most of this season.
No team has managed to score more than 24 points on the Wolverines all season. We'll just have to wait and see if Jalen Milroe and the Alabama offense can do just that in the Rose Bowl.
So we've talked plenty about Alabama and Michigan's journey to the Rose Bowl, but we still have plenty to discuss.
Yeah, when Roll Tide Rose Bowl returns, we turn the spotlight on the biggest scandal of the year, one that left Jim Harbaugh banned for the end of the season.
WAAY 31 special presentation. Roll Tide Rose Bowl, live from Pasadena. Sponsored by Current Electrical.
Welcome back into Pasadena, California, everyone. Nolan Knight here with Max Cohan. And Max, we're just hours away from the game. And of course, one of those coaches on the sidelines for this one will be the legendary Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, the former NFL quarterback and head coach has been with Michigan since 2015, and he's brought them back to national prominence. But even if the Wolverines win it all this year, this season will always be a major blemish on his record.
Michigan has played 13 games this year. Jim Harbaugh has only been on the sideline for 7 of them. The Wolverines head coach has served 2 separate 3-game suspensions. Harbaugh missed the team's first 3 games after the university self-imposed a suspension for recruiting violations. But it didn't seem to impact the team as they won all 3 contests. Then Harbaugh returned to coach the Wolverines' next 6 games, dominating the competition before news broke of Connor Stallion's in-person scouting scandal. As a result, the Big Ten suspended Harbaugh from coaching the final 3 games of the regular season.
I'm not going to make any comments about where things stand with the ongoing circumstances. because we have a hearing on Friday.
That left Sharon Moore to lead UMich through number 9 Penn State, Maryland, and then number 2 Ohio State. Though those would be the closest games the team played all season, they won them all, finishing the regular season a perfect 12-0.
Yeah, big thing he said to me was, he loved me and do me. And I told him the same thing. I love him, and we got his back. So, and like I said in the interview, we got his back. We'll do anything for him. Players will run through a wall for him, so with the coaches. So we were just prepared to go win this game for him.
And all that just in time for Harbaugh to return for the Big Ten championship game against Iowa, securing the top spot in the playoff with a 26-0 shutout for their 13th win of the season.
When Coach Harbaugh's there, he's kind of like the glue that puts everything together. And, it's been tremendous to have him back.
They've thought about this, planned for this, worked for this, and, getting locked, cocked, and ready to rock. I mean, they are locked in and ready to roll.
And with a loss tomorrow, this could be Michigan's last game under head coach Jim Harbaugh, and I can think of a handful of local guys that would love to have a hand in ending this chapter.
Yeah, that's right. There's quite a few North Alabama players on this year's roster. A big good luck and congratulations to Jaleel Hurley, Caleb McDougall, Hayden Neighbors, Billy Roby, and of course starting long snapper Neelan Hibbett on making it to the Rose Bowl. And yesterday at Media Day, we caught up with the long snapper to talk about what it's like to be a Florence guy representing the Crimson Tide.
It's great. Being from Florence, Alabama, it's not too big of a city, so being able to come out to LA, it's really new, but it's been great. The people of Pasadena have been great. It's been really cool to see a bunch of things out here, so I'm excited. It's been great. Everybody's been extremely supportive, and, being from Florence, Alabama, it's always either Alabama or Auburn, so I got a lot of really big Alabama fans there that have supported me my entire time here, so it's been a lot having a lot of support from them.
We're just a couple of hours away from ringing in the new year, and here at WAAY 31, we're excited for the turn of the calendar into 2024 as the SEC comes to ABC.
Yeah, in recent years, you guys had to watch Alabama or Auburn somewhere else and then come back to WAAY 31 for your coverage. But coming up this football season, you won't have to touch that remote to see our coverage as your favorite teams shift right here to WAAY 31. And boy, are there going to be some great games. The schedule is already out for most of the season, and just look at this lineup of matchups.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time hosting SEC here on WAAY 31. Georgia and Alabama, that's a game everyone is going to be tuned in for. They'll face off at 7:30. That's a night game on WAAY 31. Alabama, they travel to Tennessee for the third Saturday in October rivalry. They're also on the road at LSU and Oklahoma. And of course, last but not least, you can't forget the Iron Bowl. That will air right here on WAAY 31. Well, the trip to the Rose Bowl has been a special one. We have really enjoyed it. Max and I, we have. But we're not the only North Alabama natives in town.
Yeah, how about the entire Albertville High School marching band? The Aggies are here for the Rose Parade, and you'll hear from them next in Roll Tide Rose Bowl.
This is a WAAY 31 special presentation. Roll Tide Rose Bowl, live from Pasadena. Sponsored by Current Electrical.
Welcome back to Pasadena, California, everyone. Nolan Knight here with Max Cohan, a day away from the Rose Bowl. So much excitement for the granddaddy of them all.
And when you think of the Rose Bowl game, you think of the pageantry. And of course, the Rose Bowl is nothing without the Rose Parade.
That's right, and one North Alabama band made the trip to Pasadena to be in the parade. Our own Jillian Kay has the story.
Strike up the band and get ready to see the Albertville High School Marching Band take national stage at the Rose Parade.
Wow, I can't believe I'm here. I'm on TV, Mom, look at me.
Owen Thibodeau clearly knows what he's saying when he gets there. This is a dream come true for the drum major and more than 300 of his bandmates.
I have not been out of the South of the United States.
It's a story all too common in this small town.
Truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There's a lot of our students who've never seen an ocean before.
This isn't the band's first go-around. The band performed at the Rose Parade in 2011, 2018, and 2024 will be the third time. Dr. Taylor Cash directed the band at all of them, and each time is just as exciting as the last.
They've worked really hard, and they don't take this lightly. They're looking to represent well.
And so step by step, note by note, for months, They've practiced for this moment.
It's surprising. It's a really big deal, and I'm so happy we have this opportunity.
That's the spirit the Aggies will take with them as they show the world what North Alabama is made of. These kids practiced hard for this. They want to make North Alabama proud, and they say it's an experience they will never forget. You can watch the Aggies in action tomorrow right here on WAAY 31 at 10 a.m. With coverage you can count on, Jillian Kay, WAAY 31 News.
Man, so excited to see Albertville in town tomorrow for the Rose Parade. All right, today we had our final chance to talk with head coach Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh. Early in the week, we had a lot of fun with media day, talking with different players and stuff. But today, both coaches, all business.
And it's New Year's Eve. Everybody wants to know what your New Year's Eve plans are. Both coaches, like you said, handling business today, saying they're all focused on Monday.
They're on their own leading up to the game based on their ability to focus on what they need to do to execute and have good emotional discipline in how they approach doing their job. I think that's one of the most important things. I mean, if we have to motivate guys to play in this game, it's probably not a good thing. They should be pretty motivated. I think channeling the energy in the right direction is really, really important in games like this.
Tonight we'll get together, watch a movie, and talk to the team, different things like that. Kind of get the red blood pumping a little bit so you can visualize it. And go to sleep and see how good of a night's sleep you can get. Sometimes it's sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. That's why we really stress a good night's sleep last night. Kind of feel like that's the sleep you sleep on or play on. So got a darn good one last night. So anything tonight will just be a bonus.
Yeah, it seems like Coach is saying he might have a hard time sleeping tonight. I think we might have a hard time as well. But we're pretty excited for the game tomorrow as well. Be sure to tune in to WAAY 31 tomorrow for our post-game coverage. We'll be on the field and we talking everything Rose Bowl. We'll see if it's an Alabama or Michigan win. How about we put our money where our mouths are and do some predictions? Max, what are you thinking?
I'm going to break some hearts here. I do not think Alabama is going to roll. I think Michigan is going to take this game. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be an exciting one and a fun one. But I think probably 24-17. Alabama's played in a lot of close games this year.
Yep.
They've won all of them. I don't think that luck is going to carry them far enough. I think this is the end of the road, unfortunately. I think it's been a great run, but I think Michigan advances to their first college football playoff final.
I will go with the fans back at SEC country and say Alabama can win this game. But the way that they're going to win this game is a shootout. We talked about it earlier in the show. Michigan has not been in a back-and-forth game that's been high-scoring. Their most points that they've let up all season, 24. If Jalen Milroe and those receivers can get cooking, look out. Alabama, I think, comes out on top and will return to Tuscaloosa with a Rose Bowl trophy. I'll say 49-42, high-scoring affair in the Rose Bowl. Wouldn't that be something to see?
I agree. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Alabama wins this game. I'd like to go to Houston. I'd like to see another national championship game. We'll see what happens. I'm not so sure, but I think I'm sticking with 24-17.
Of course, as we mentioned earlier, be sure to tune in to WAAY 31 tomorrow for our post-game report from the Rose Bowl. Reporting from Pasadena, California, from Max Cohan, I'm Nolan Knight, WAAY 31 Sports.
You have been watching a special presentation of WAAY 31 Sports.